All right. Seems like it's been forever, gang. We are finally back live in the Counselor's Corner for another open court discussion. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the Controversial Counselor, and joining me is my co host, the Big Bad Wolf, Herb Lewis.
Oh,
All right, that wolf got to be hungry. It's been a while. It's been a while. Welcome to our broadcast, where we are creating a safe space to share, listen, and learn from each other's experiences. Life can be unpredictable and challenging, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed and alone. But on Monday night, tonight, March 31st, we are coming together to have an unscripted, authentic conversations about life challenges, to talk openly and honestly about the struggles we face and the ways in which we're overcoming them. Our goal is to foster a sense of community and connection and to provide support and inspiration for those who are navigating difficult times. We believe that by sharing our stories and experiences, we can help break down stigmas and stereotypes and create a more compassionate and empathetic world. Please like and share our video, and don't forget to tell an overly talkative person to tell another overly talkative person to please subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. 942 subs, still eight away from the goal of 950. We are getting there, but your help is required. If you believe in hard work and dedication, then click on to subscribe to watch us work. All right. So here we are. Like I said, it's been a while. I don't know, about 3 weeks. Seemed like maybe a month. Uh, there's a lot of things going on, some misfortunes, and man, oh man, it's got me thinking on different levels. And I'm gonna get into that in a minute. But um, Herb, what's good with you, man?
man, just sitting back in the cut. Hold on, give me a second. Let me make sure they're situated correctly so I don't hear the echo and the feedback. Man, I'm just sitting back in the cut, man. Just trying to get through every day. Yeah, get the volume here. All right, that's what we got. Okay. All right, man. Just sit back in the cut, man. Like I was telling you earlier, pre-broadcast, I did a thing, and I'm going to introduce that to the loyal listeners who always get here on time. Thank you for joining us as always. Some years ago, it might be going on two now. I reached out to the young man who was at the center, or who, let me not say he was at the center. He was caught in a crossroads of a paternity issue. And I'll preface that by saying this: as adults, we need to be mindful of the things we do and how they impact kids. And I know we young, we out there slinging dick, out there enjoying the sex, but we have to accept the things that come along with that, and that includes pregnancies, whether they're oops, I was on birth control, she lied to me, he's not this. We have to accept those things, and part of accepting those things is understanding the role that we played in those situations. Now, my situation happened to turn out different. I wasn't a father, like I was telling David. I've spoken to this to many people, including this platform, that I did everything I was supposed to as a man. Acquiesced to the test that the mother wanted to take, was there when the news broke, and I stood by the side until I found out what the information was, and I was gone. But then I got to thinking, and there's something about this time of year, it's spring, that always puts me in a mood to reflect on things. So one of the things I did, aside from messaging him, and I'll get to the message in a moment, was I started asking some past women that I've dated had sex with non-binding sex. And when I say non-binding sex, we weren't in a full-fledged relationship. So we was just doing us. If they would have had a child with me years ago, because that's not happening now. I want anybody to get it twisted. Yes, I do get that baby scratch feeling, but that's not gonna happen. And some of them said yes, and some of them said no, and it's a mixed bag of results. So when I reached out to the young man, I said, I'm probably the last person you expected to hear from, yada, yada, yada. And I told him, I said, you got caught up in some adult things. I said, it's unfortunate that you are in the situation that you are. I said, because I've been there. Although my father's deceased, his situation is still um, undetermined at this time. The last time I spoke to him, which is probably about a week and a half or so ago. I do plan on meeting the young man, sitting down and kicking it with him. But as black men, especially in the United States and possibly Canada as well, we have to understand we have an enormous burden on us. Whether it's fair, unfair, cruel, we, those of us who are responsible, we need to start trying to find ways of building lineages, and this is part of what David's doing, and I commend him for that. Lineages, generational wealth, and platforms so we can weed out those men who are not any good. Because if we look down, Native American black women, ADOS, FBAs, which stands for American Descendants of Slaves, and Free Black Americans, those are the groups that generally we say came from slavery, came from chattel slavery. Because their go to excuses, there's not enough educated men, there's not enough well to do men, there are not enough financially sound men for us to date. Now, their barometer, and we may call it whatever it is, isn't being met. So the way we eliminate that excuse is we foster a group of men who meet those standards. That way we remove another excuse from them about what's here, what's available for them to pick. Because the passable bros are gone. Them brothers aren't coming back. So, sisters, I'm telling you now, you can follow them all over the world if you want to. They're done with you. They don't have a foot out the door. They don't have 2 feet out the door. Their entire body is gone. Their mindset is gone. And you're never going to see them brothers again. This is the result of generation after generation of putting them in a light that they didn't deserve. All because they didn't meet some narcissistic wishes that you had. So them brothers are gone. Gen Z, or the millennial as a whole, most of them are dealing with you for whatever reason. That's a sad fact. All you got to do is look at the data that's coming out of who they're dating and who they're choosing to date and who they're just choosing to partner up with. So, brothers like us, we need to get right. We need to get right for each other. Those women gonna come, and when they do come, make sure they walk to your drum beat. As soon as they start, send them on their way. They're not what you want. I'm gonna tell you now. I've been doing that for some years, so I don't have the problems that a lot of brothers are having. A lot of brothers want to be strictly sisters. I dig it, but you got to make sure that the one that you're choosing is on your program. No if, no ands, no buts. She ain't talking about equality. She ain't talking about equally yoked because we're not. Let's face it. I hear that nonsense all the time. We're not. Men and women are not equally yoked. Men can't give birth. Women can't impregnate other women. You know, we see this now with the outcome of the, the prior presidential election. There's a mandate on the table. You don't have to like it. You don't have to respect it. But if you stand in his way, I believe you're gonna get crushed. But that's just one of the things that I've been up to. Uh I need to get this weight up off me. I'm sitting back at 290. I gained 35, 40 pounds I'd lost. So that's Yeah, two things. Yeah, man. It's winter. This winter was brutal. It was. I looked. They said it was the coldest it had been in 37 years. I'm like, I was a kid. I was a goddamn kid because normally I get out. I do some ice skating, some jogging. It was too damn cold to do anything other than eat and sleep. And clearly, you all can tell by my weight. That's all I did was eat and sleep. And so it was a lot of pizza, a lot of wings, a lot of my go-to restaurant. I would bring home the stuff, man. And yeah, man, I was and for whatever reason, I haven't slept well, like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and I'm back up. But we gonna get right this year, 2025. We gonna do the thing.
Guess it's the bounce back 25. Yeah, so for me, many of you may have seen it, that it was my mother's birthday, came up to Niagara Falls, Buffalo area. My nephew was having their thing, was their opening round playoff games in West Seneca. Come out, car stolen. So, you know, the violations that you feel, and like you just want to hurt somebody, uh, because you feel like it's so commonly happening that the law don't even do nothing. They kind of just like dismiss it, and in the person that loses their vehicle is the one that goes through all the turmoil, whether the
Mm-hmm.
investigation, like you set it up to have your car taken and stuff like that. Like I'm almost in a couple months I'll be 55, double nickels. Nobody ain't got time for no shit like that. I'm just coming to endorse my nephew, watch the game, and see these boys live their dream and accomplish their goal again to the Final Four in ABA, and then hopefully winning it, which they are going to be playing in the Final Four. Is it might be this weekend coming up in St. Louis. So that happened, and of course, all the back and forth because the car stolen in New York, but is registered in Maryland. Uh, I had to make some trips up. But the crazy thing is, what got me more frustrated than anything, the lack of sense of urgency for the people that's supposed to be, helping you, like insurance companies, police officers, the impound places. Like, um, so I didn't. So that happened Saturday. So then, Sunday didn't hear anything. Um, Monday, got up, had to make some calls. Spoke to my insurance, got a rental so that I could get back to Maryland, and still hadn't heard anything. Contacted the detective in West Seneca to see if he heard anything. Really didn't get a hold of him. And then I was telling someone that I said, no, my luck. I said, well, it was one of them certified letters that I got, and I was like, okay, what is a certified letter for what? So that came on a Friday. So when by the time I got it, the post office was closed. So then I went to the post office, and when I opened it, sure enough, City of Buffalo said they have found my car. It was impounded, and the thing is, they found it that Sunday. They had it, so I could have took care of some of that stuff. It like put me behind a week because I could have took care of some of that while I was there, like claimed the car and all that stuff. So I went back to Maryland, then had to come back because there's like, you got like 5 days upon receiving this letter, or you'll be fined for it. And I'm like, damn, these people insensitive. But no one from the impound place, once they get your VIN number, they couldn't look up my information and call me and say, hey, we have your car here. It's like it's been stolen, and nobody. They just, well, I guess that's probably done intentionally with the hope of getting paid. That if they,
Yeah.
the longer they wait, and then hopefully, They probably figure, oh, he's out of town, so he may not make it back. So we'll just keep accumulating fines or whatever. I just, I'm disgusted um, with this whole process, and you know, it's not easy trying to, like my principal said. He said it's bad enough if something like that happened in your home, in the city you live in, but to be hours and hours away and have to go through that, uh, it's like it just sucks. And the thing about it is, I don't know if I'm any further today. About 3 weeks later, after was it 3 weeks? Is
Hmm.
yeah,
Yep. 3 or 4.
over 3 weeks, whatever, going on four, than I was on the eighth or ninth, because these people are taking forever to process everything. And what people may not know, and I don't know, it might be insurance based. So I had items in the car that were removed, and so I would think that a regular insurance would cover that, but they said they don't cover that. They said for me to speak to my rental and homeowners insurance, and I'm like, what? Like that don't make any sense. And that's who would I was supposed to file the claim with. So I'm still waiting on them to put that through, and that's been a whole process, which uh, you know, it's not over with yet, so I'm not going to even say that much. But it's just everything is taking longer than it probably should. Whether it's gap insurance, so I don't know if everybody has to have gap insurance, but for you who don't, I heard somebody had told me that it's required in New York State. I don't know how if that's true or not, but
I bet.
make sure that you have gap insurance, and that's basically if your car is totaled or something, whether accident or stolen, and it's not, and you know, and if it's not paid off, therefore the gap insurance will pick up the rest of the difference, so that you know you have a clean slate. Because if you still owe, but it's the car is only worth a certain amount, guess who's gonna be stuck with and you got to get a new car. Guess who's gonna be stuck with
Right.
another bill added on to that new car, and it just sucks. So I had the gap insurance, and you're supposed to submit all this documentation, which I've been doing my part, and then I finally talked to them. I think on Friday or Thursday, and they like, oh, yeah, we got your emails with your documentation, but we're kind of um, behind. So everybody just had this cavalier attitude. If you're behind, then that means some people should be getting overtime or something. I mean, it's just crazy that, and I know ever since the pandemic, a lot of people just don't want to work. I see the ethic is just totally went down, and you know, people got that unemployment money and different things like that, and people just became complacent. And shit, out of 1 out of 10 people at a job, probably two or three go hard, and the rest of them just meander and thaw through and just try and you know get a paycheck to survive. But no, it's just been a whole like a cavalier attitude about everything. No sense of urgency. No trying to put pieces together and say, hey, this guy is from a different state. Let's hurry up and try to wrap this paperwork up and you know move on. But they don't even look that deep into it. And that reminds me of the probably the last show we had was talking about empathy. Like
Hmm.
people just don't have empathy for others during you know during a time of need. And I don't even know what direction we're going to go in this country with the work ethic, especially as some of us older ones start to fizzle out of the workplace. This generation coming up behind us, oh, we're in a world of trouble. We're in a world of trouble. These fools do not like coming to work. No calls, no shows. They just I don't know what pot they got at the end of the tunnel. Well, some of them may know. They may say, "Hey, when my pops and moms pass away, I know they got insurance. I'm gonna be all right. I'm gonna be
Hmm.
all right." And that might be their mindset. I don't know, but it's just I'm just aggravated and just frustrated with this whole process. And then, it got me thinking about other things like, man, I'm just ready to what I want to do. And, my cousins been trying to put me on to this is I want to just get me a Sprinter van, just drive, drop off cargo and just drive, see the country and just drive. And I ain't got to deal with nobody but a dispatcher and whoever I get to and just ride out, and make some content whenever I'm at in the hotel and just ride out. And the less people I have to deal with, the better, because it's just folks is killing me right now. So that's just been going through my mind. It's been going through my mind heavy too. So I know that I'm going to I'll make it happen, whatever, real soon. I got to.
Sounds like a Bob Seger song called "Roll Me Away," and I love the song. And
But hold
if
on, hold
you
on.
if
Before
for
before
people,
you get going,
yeah,
and
yeah,
Auntie is not here because Auntie, if everybody familiar with the story, she kind of went viral on TikTok with a video saying that she was found, and it's like 25,000 with over, I don't 25,000 views with over, I don't know, about 500 comments and 2,000 something likes and over, I don't know, close to maybe 150 shares. So everybody's been compassionate about Auntie being found, and she just wants you to know she don't have the energy. She doesn't didn't want to talk and didn't want to come on because she's probably going through some trauma behind that incident. She happened to be in the trunk uh, during this incident, so uh, she'll be all right. She just needs some time to gather herself, and I'm sure she'll come on and say, what you want to say. Yeah, I don't know how much she's going to get into talking about it. She is 83 years old, but she survived that horrific event. So
yeah,
everybody
that
keeps
is
showing love on
yeah.
TikTok. She appreciated. She's been reading all the comments and all the love that was shared, and she'll be back soon.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like a Bob Seger song called "Roll Me Away." For those who aren't classic, I consider Bob Seger and them to be kind of a classic rock because they've been around for uh at least 30 years, if not more. I know I first started listening to Bob Seger. I was probably in my late teens, just out of high school, so early 20s. So yeah, they've been around. They've been around a bit. But I got a story for people. I know in this country at least, the black male image hasn't been good for whatever reason. So last week, I happened to meander down to the corner store, pick up something to eat. The proprietor says to me, "Do you have an iPhone?" I said, "No, why?" He said, "These two young ladies are trying to contact their mother." I said, "Oh, you have a phone number?" He said, "No, they're trying to do it peer to peer." And I guess with iPhones, you can call another iPhone without knowing the number. Don't quote me on that. I'm not familiar with how iPhones function in that regard. So I said, "You know what? Do they have Facebook?" Because virtually anybody that has an iPhone is on Facebook. They said no, didn't know the names, had no phone numbers. At least it's the story that we're told. So I said, okay. Came back home, got a few dollars because my intention was, and they're from Buffalo, by the way, ages 14. Brother had dropped them off and left them. No
Mm.
intention of coming back to get them. I don't know what they were doing. I don't know why they were here. I don't know how in the world parents don't know where their kids are, especially when they're that age and female. Not that Niagara Falls is a huge city. It's not necessarily a city where kidnappings are rampant, but still, I don't want my teenage girls in some strange place where they have no phone, no access to anything, and they can't get back home. So I came home, got a couple of dollars. My intent was to put them on the bus. So for those of you who don't know, Niagara Falls and Buffalo run underneath one busing system called the Niagara Frontier Transportation Association. I'm sorry, Authority. So for $2, you can get from Buffalo to Niagara Falls, and they'll drop them off downtown. I said I figured that's the least I can do. But I did realize they were still going to be in the same situation. They weren't going to be able to contact anybody to let them know where they were. So they said, we can go to the hospital and tell them. So my man finished making my food. I take him up to the hospital. I talk to the charge nurse in the ER. She asked them the same questions. Lo and behold, somehow they come up with a number. Now, generally, much doesn't offend me. I could care less about a lot of things. But one thing that I don't like is being lied to. And this circles back to when I was talking about black men being a boogeyman. I don't know what they've been told about, protect yourself from black men. They might try and do this. They might try and do that. My thought process is this. If I were going to harm you, would I have taken you to the hospital? No. And so when people ask, why don't black men protect black women? This is why. Say what you want about it. Say I need to get over it. Say I need to do this. Say I need to do that. I can't. Because it makes it impossible to help those who are in need. I'll say it again. It makes it impossible for somebody to help those who are in need. They needed my help. I didn't need their help. I could have just said, you know what? Fuck y'all, and walked off. I didn't. So people, 2 lessons. Keep an eye on your damn children, especially your minor daughters. And if you don't know where they are, then you as a parent, you have failed in your obligation to your children.
You're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit.
And 2, more importantly, make sure that they know at least 2 phone numbers so they can call somebody in case something like this happens. I don't know how the hell a 14-year-old doesn't know her mother's phone number. That's incomprehensible. And it's a goddamn shame.
Well, it's understood, and they may not, and that's the thing. As a parent, you would teach them to memorize it because they always go to their phone, and that's what they're used to, just pulling up the number and all that stuff. But other than that, you should teach them because it's amazing me. It's amazing. A lot of kids don't know their fucking address.
Yep.
They don't know their address. This is stuff that used to be recited to you and was told, like you learned that, like ABCs, your phone number and all that stuff. You would go over that and to remember it, your address and all that stuff. And this is one of the things that's happening with technology that these kids don't know. And we all know they probably don't really know how to tell time on the clock. They probably don't know how to do that as well because they're used to seeing, digital stuff, so they know how to time, but they probably couldn't, many of them probably couldn't look at a watch and tell you what time it is. It's things that have been removed from learning, that's basic skills that we get away with, and then in situations like that, kids don't know. They don't know, but like Herb said, they might have been told, don't talk to strangers or whatever the case is. Even though you took them to the hospital, it showed your genuine concern for them. They just got it in their head instead of saying, maybe having a gut instinct like, I don't think he's trying to harm us. He's trying to help us. So therefore, we should kind of have some self-awareness to say he's trying to help us. So let's give him some information. But I guess when they got to the hospital, they guess that was a safer place. I guess they felt safe, but it's
Hispanic
crazy.
female, so it didn't surprise me.
You said Hispanic?
hmm
Mm.
Either she was Hispanic or Native American. I'm leaning more towards Hispanic, but either one.
Might have got it dropped off to make some money. Who knows? Sex trafficking
I
and
it,
all of that stuff.
well, I'm hypersensitive to kids in that situation, and I'm even more sensitive to black kids in that situation. Why? Because I've been there. You know, true story. I was 14. Me, my younger brother, and our real cool friend Rashad Black. We went to roller skating Lockport at Skateland. Now my older brother took us out there. I remember he had the emerald green um, Cadillac Eldorado, beautiful piece of machinery, and he told us, he said, "Hey, look, I'm not coming to pick y'all up." We think he's joking. No, he said, "I'm serious. I'm not coming to pick y'all up." So what happens? Place closes down. People little by little start getting their rides, getting picked up. Only a handful of people left out there, and we among that handful of people. So we start walking down the boulevard till we get to Transit Road. We find a payphone. We call her mother. She ponied up us. She ponied up the money for us a cab ride home. Two things I learned. One, never leave town without enough money to get back home. And two, if somebody's in need and you don't have to overextend yourself, help them out. Invaluable lessons. And I carry those lessons with me everywhere I go. My motto is this: if I can't help you, I'm not going to hurt you. Now, that does not mean I'm obligated to help you. Don't get to confuse or conflate them. That means if I find it in my heart, the goodness, I'm going to do that. And because I've been given so much by so many different people across Western New York, I'm always going to try and help. That's just in my nature. Because, like I said, I've been given so much. But there's some people who take advantage of people's good nature. And when you tell them no, they look at you kind of funny. They say, "What do you mean?" No. But you did that time. I said, "You know what? Yeah, you're right. But you cut off." And there's no more. The bank is closed. The well is dry. And they look at you as if you have done them wrong because they're entitled to what it is that you have. And I'll say this especially for women, regardless of your ethnicity. Y'all got to learn to tell some people no. It's the only way to keep your value, keep your mental faculties from being destroyed. And when I say destroyed, I mean abused. Because you got some people out there, family, ex-lovers, whatever the case is, they will go to no ends or they will stop at no ends to abuse you mentally. I've seen it happen. I've seen brothers get out of jail. They need a spot because they're on parole. They use a female spot and they abuse this privilege. And it's a privilege. And the women are asking, "Well, what can I do? I don't want to see him go back to jail." Baby, I'm here to tell you, you didn't put him in jail. You're not responsible for keeping him out of jail. If he come to your house and he's not doing right by the rules set up, A, by his parole officer, and B, by your home, you got to cut him loose. You got to let him go because he's going to take you down with him. And if you got kids, it's unfair to your kids. I mean, so often we hear these stories tongue in cheek about, and I started off the top of the broadcast with this, about men that aren't any good, men that aren't earning, men who leeching off the system, or in this case, they leeching off women. And because a lot of women are good natured, They don't want to see unnecessary suffering. I'm here to tell you, I'm gonna let you suffer. Like I said, if I can't help you, I'm not gonna hurt you, but I'm not gonna overextend myself to help you when you're not helping yourself.
It reminds me, and we had a broadcast years ago. I had one, and it was called "Failed Free Agency." True story. One of those cocktail conversations where I think a woman who lived in New York, I think she might have been a nurse, uh, was talking to a guy online who lived in Virginia. So she went to visit him. I guess he ended up, I guess he was staying at somebody's house, and the landlord said because he was found out that he was staying there, but he wasn't on the lease that he had to go. So this nurse, uh, kind of felt bad because they were communicating. So she, told him she didn't want him to be out in the streets. So she said, "Oh, you can come, fresh start, come to New York." But what she failed to do is tell her 14, 15-year-old son that Melvin was going to be coming there to stay. So now, the son looking at her sideways and like, and it didn't help that this guy was about 400 pounds. It,
Oh,
so
oh,
every time he would be around now, I guess he wasn't working at first, then he got a job, but it really wasn't, you're in New York, it really wasn't helping. But the son, he became like a joke. So whenever him and his boys would be around, they would just like kind of laugh and snicker at him. And but I know the son probably was hurt. Just he was laughing it off with his boys, but I know he was pissed. Like, how can my mother do this to
yeah.
me? How could she embarrass me like that? But people don't think about things like that. Like, what's the best interest of the child? You don't think about the best interest of that man. You think about the best interest of the child. So they clown the dude every time they walk by. Coming in, he'll be on the couch. They like snicker, probably saying fat ass. So I guess he broke some furniture, whatever, because of his weight. The woman said that when she would cook enough, but she would take stuff for lunch. But if she thought something would last for it could be a meal, chili or something like that. Like, okay, this should last us a couple days. Well, fat ass, excuse me, I'm being rude and insensitive to overweight people, and I'm an overweight individual, but I don't care at this point. Uh, Fat ass, uh, pretty much ate all the leftovers, and she said she would have to start hiding like drinks in her trunk because if she put them there, he could drink a 2 liter in one setting, and it got to be more of a expense than uh he wasn't he wasn't an access at all. He was more of a expense. So eventually she told him like let's something change. You got to go. And I guess he cried and carried on. Give me a chance. I'm gonna do better. He didn't have no account or anything, so he would the job that he did have, he would end up going to cash his check at a check cashing spot, and they would take a percentage of his check, whatever. So he was just a hot mess. I guess the moral of the story is sometimes you can't let people cap on you that you bring people into your world, your peaceful world, and not considering
Mhm.
your children just because you wanted to have a man. You wanted to have a
Yeah.
man, and it backfired. And I'm pretty sure the son probably lost respect for you more than
Mhm.
anything. It probably became even better with anything you said to him. He probably would always throw up that guy, fat ass. So
Yeah.
So you really, it probably became tough to have a difficult to be authority figure when he can always go back and throw that up in your face. Like, I know you ain't talking. Uh, so those the things that happen. Just wanted to share that. Just triggered my mind. I thought about that scenario.
And you know what? For as much as people might think that's an anomaly, that happens more than we are willing to acknowledge. Why? Pick a reason. There's so many out there. We generally see it with family, though. We don't see it as much with strangers. And with the advent of communication now, you see it more so with people who are, excuse me, who taking on inmates as pen pals. There was just a case that I was looking at um yesterday. A corrections officer involved with an inmate. Lo and behold, why would an individual risk that kind of employment for physical gratification? I don't know. And like I said, this type of stuff happens more often than it does, more often than people think it doesn't. I will tell you this: if you doubt the veracity of my statement, all you have to do is go look up. I think it's called um, "Pen Pals for Prisoners," and look at how many women start up relationships with men who are doing multiple years. And when I say multiple years, I'm not talking 5 or 6. I'm talking 15, 20. Some with no chance of parole. They end up getting married to these men, and they go and have conjugal visits. For those of you who don't know what that is, look it up. So it's real. And some of the women who do that, they do it for a couple of reasons. One in particular, they never have to worry about that man cheating. They say he can't go nowhere. He ain't doing nothing. He locked down. I'll send him some money. I go up there and get my fix. I come back home. I got a man.
Well,
I'm not here to judge. Go
well,
ahead, Dave.
when you said correctional officer reminds me, I don't know the story, verbatim but I guess it was the group, the Black Gorilla Family or something down here in Baltimore with the guy. He was part of that gang, um, and I guess he had a couple correctional officers, female correctional officers, pregnant at the same time down here in Maryland. So he was capping and he was plowing their asses, and they was getting pregnant, and there was a lot of dissension going on behind that, and that was kind of recent, like not within the last couple of years, but at least I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago, maybe or something like that. And I'm like, wow, wow. And I know you said the reasons why they do it. I also think I look at it as when you think about the influx of female teachers messing with minor
Mhm.
kids. I think that allurement, that excitement, like the way this boy looks at me. And you might be in a situation where your husband maybe got a good job, but he ain't paying you no
Mhm.
attention. Gives you no attention. He
Mhm.
about that money. He working, then he comes home. He's still bringing the job home, but y'all got this lovely house. Kids ain't hurting for anything. But meanwhile, you striving for that. You need that attention, and you may find it in a 14, 15-year-old boy that thinks the world of you, and you think that everything is all good. Like, yeah, I swear to secrecy, but one thing boys can be like girls too. They can't hold that. If kids can't hold that information, then they're gonna share it with someone. They're gonna tell one of their buddies, and their buddy's gonna be a little jelly. Like, damn, you really sleeping with Miss Such and Such? Like, yeah, uh, I don't believe you. Look at these text messages right now. She's picking
Yep.
me up later on after practice, and I'm going to their house, and then they like, wow. So they start running their damn mouths. Yeah, that's how shit get. That's how you get caught. Not saying they shouldn't get caught, but I'm just saying that that's how things take place. So it wouldn't shock me that these women go into these prisons and the correction on these inmates start saying stuff, giving them attention like, oh, I missed you, you was off the last couple of days, like I was asking about where's CO such and such, and you're like, you weren't asking about me. See, first of all, you shouldn't be playing around like that, shouldn't be even having that type of not in that setting. I mean, you can't, I guess if you built rapport and you a strong individual, but if you got any weaknesses and you enjoy that conversation at attention and
They're
that
gonna
attention,
exploit it.
yeah, you're gonna end up in a world of trouble.
Yeah, I see. You know what? Following that up, I don't think people understand the intellect that a lot of criminals have. A lot of people think that criminals are stupid. No, they just happen to get caught up. But make no mistake, you got some of them cats that go in there and they go through, they get a degree, state pays for it, but they in there for 15, 20 years. So what do you think they do with that information? They hone in a skill. Sometimes the skills that they hone in on are corrections officers. And make no mistake about it, you have some COs who are being manipulated. Now, the various ways they're being manipulated, I'm not going to speak about because I don't think y'all ready for that aspect. I think y'all think all COs are above board. I'm here to tell you, they are not. You got some COs who are on the take, whether they're male or female, and whatever the reason is, they are on the take. How do you think drugs get shipped into these facilities? How do you think some inmates have cell phones? Newsflash, they ain't going to Best Buy to buy them shits. They ain't going to Walmart to buy one. Somebody paying the bill. I'm just putting it out there. Well, I want y'all to think about this. We give you some information to have you think and say, wait a minute, who's doing all of this? So yeah, because females aren't. I'm sorry, because correctional officers are certs like the regular ones. Matter of fact, I'll drop this nugget on you. How many of you have seen the movie Shawshank Redemption? Raise your hand. How do you think the inmates got to drink some beer working on the license plate roof factory? Put it out there for you because they doing some things. But everybody everybody on this planet is capable of being manipulated. To what degree? That's debatable. You know, some people say, I'm not gonna put myself in that position. And you know what? I understand because I'm not either. I'm not going to jail unless I absolutely have to. I mean, categorically, absolutely have to. But if I find myself in there and I can use my wherewithal to make my situation a little bit more palatable, I'm going to engage. Survival of the fittest. Darwin wasn't lying when he's talking about it. Hey, look, if I could do something to to let's say move a little bit of furniture, do some rearranging, I'm gonna move some furniture, do a little bit of rearranging.
It reminds me of a couple thoughts just came through. One of the things, and I'll say this one first. I think that was just someone know Friday foolishness about flattery, uh, where people say, "Oh, imitation is the best form of flattery." Well, why do you get twisted with flattery? it's not always it's not always a good thing. Like when someone always saying stuff to flatter you, to get on your good side, giving you compliments, those people were probably really your enemy. They're probably really your enemy because the fact that you don't want someone who's always trying to flatter you. You don't want to always have a yes person. You want people to be real to you
Hmm.
and don't give you that false sense of like, oh, he said this, so that means this, because that person probably has a hidden agenda, and they're gonna keep flattering you, and you're gonna eat that up. Probably in case of the COs and the inmates flattering them, saying stuff like, "Oh man, you the best CEO, man. It was hell. Well, how was it? How's it been? Oh man, it was horrible. You wasn't here. Everything was out of control." You say that stuff to some people, they eat that up. But meanwhile, the person who's saying it is trying to get something. They're trying to manipulate you. Uh, and flattery, like I said on my No Friday Fools, looks like a friend. If you have friends that all y'all do is try to up each other and support everything that they do when you know it's wrong, they ain't really your friend. That's
Yeah.
really not your friend. Friends tell you, have those courageous conversations. They tell you in a minute. And that's why we talked about this before. I have a lot of concern about the female the female friendships that are formed, because real friends, some of the shit y'all come out wearing, ain't no way a friend would say, no, take that off. You're doing too much. Or even y'all old ass ones like twerking, making videos and all that. Real friends will say, yo, stop doing that shit. Don't put me in that
Yeah.
picture. Don't put me in that video. I'm a professional. I don't do all that. Uh but females just seem to let that shit go on. Like I could tell you, I've always been on the up and up, like far as being professional, being a student. I hung with some of my boys, they did a little dirt, but they always knew. I would always say, if I got in the car, yo, y'all ain't got nothing on y'all good, right? No, man, we wouldn't do that,
Right.
man. We wouldn't do that, man. With you in here or whatever the case is, I like for real, like, and you have to have people that's gonna keep it real with you, and those are the ones that's gonna let you. It might hurt. You're gonna have to have those courageous conversations. Sometimes you're gonna be like, man, I guess, that's gonna help you grow when they say things that make you feel uncomfortable. But if you have
Hmm.
somebody always champion, yeah, 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 no matter what, yeah, yeah, you gotta watch them people. You gotta watch them. You gotta think about that look. Now I'm gonna quote a movie. I probably always quote the same type of the same movies. I'm not like her, well versed that could go back, but when you think about the best man, that look El Boogie gave Harper when he said he was about to go blow. Uh, he was about to pretty much blow Jordan back out, and then El Boogie kind of looked at him with that side look, like, yeah, all right. Like when he was trying to get that book back, and then he picked up the jacket, and he had and he seen that he had took the book, so he knew he was up to something, and he kind of was like looking at him. That's that's the type of look you should give somebody who always trying to give you flattery, always saying something, and in your heart you may know you're wrong, but they always champion it and supporting it. Be mindful of those folks. Be mindful. You need folks to be able to, like, yo, that shit you did ain't right. What you got on don't look right. Eh, you probably should go another direction. But we also live in this culture of, oh, you can't hurt nobody's feelings. That was mean. You shouldn't say that. If and I notice, if you don't have anything good to say don't say anything at all. It's a fine line between all of that. Uh, I don't know that that philosophy may be a little outdated. Uh, in some case, now if it's somebody who has nothing to do with it, and y'all not a connection, and then you feel the need to go say something, because that's one of the things I always say to students: Do y'all know each other? And they're like, No. So why did you feel the need? Why did you say something to them? Do y'all joke around? No, we don't even talk. In those cases, then you should keep your mouth shut. You have nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
But if it's your friend, homeboy, homegirl, and you don't think they doing something, you think they're doing something wrong, or they not. Some things you're like, I don't think you should wear that out. That doesn't. It's not a good look. You should be able to say something to that person. Now, if they get mad and they don't want to speak to you, the hell with them, whatever. But long as you
right.
did your just do and say, hey, I'm just trying to save you from embarrassment. So that was one thing I wanted to say. Then also reminds me when I worked at this drug and alcohol rehab, how some of the female, I might have spoke on this before, residents was in there. I was young at the time. I was like 24, 25. So it became like a danger zone for me. And they wanted me to go back to become a drug and alcohol counselor, not for the fact that a lot of times people are addicts and they end up getting those positions, but I was just young and was just inquisitive about it because I knew my father went through addiction. So um, I was, and I always appreciated working there because some of the stories and testimonies of how people had it all and lost it because of drugs. So it was intriguing to say, like, damn, if I could be someone to kind of help them. But the place started feeling like it was a danger zone for me because these women most of the time before they came into the facility, they was out there smoking, uh, turning tricks, and surviving. But then they came in there, they started eating, getting their weight up, started feeling good about themselves, and I became like a target. Like, oh, he nice looking, he young. So when I did rounds, it would be that, and I would go on the female side. You knock on the door, and a couple times, and you'll call out their name, and nobody said anything. But you wanted to make sure that you had, if they wasn't in group, and you know they weren't in group, then they might be in their room, and they need to get to group. So you go knock on their door, then all of a sudden they open it, you open it to see if anybody in there. Oh, I'm sorry, and they naked. You like the fuck, like, oh, I'm so sorry, David. Yeah. And I'm like, yo, like, shit, not cool, whatever. And that was the setup. Like, oh, he gonna
Yep.
come around here, and when he knock on this door, I ain't gonna say nothing. Then he gonna open the door, and I'm gonna be naked. And probably thinking if it was somebody that's really weak, they'd be like, shit, okay, you already late for group. Let me shut this door and go on up in here. And I would like, yo, and, and shut the door and keep it moving. And they'll be looking at you like, shit, you seen it, whatever. But they wouldn't outwardly come out and say anything because they know, like, I didn't really never make no advancements at them. But they were like, yeah, he's seen it. He's seen it, but that was their plans, the hope that they could lure me in there. So I understand that aspect of some of these jobs and some of these professions that can be very challenging.
People. If you don't take what he has told you as gospel, I don't know what to tell you. This is how he mentioned earlier about the proliferation of female teachers dealing with younger students. Why do you think that is? Let's take a female. Through high school, she was never really the prom queen. She was never the center of attention. She was either the plain Jane or the girl next door. Through college, she had her one or two guys. She might even be the party girl, somebody that was considered easy. She gets her degree, lands her first job at about 25, 26, fresh out of grad school. She gets with a bunch of hormonal sixth graders. Now, she physically is much older than they are, but experience wise, she's only a step above them. Why? Most of them, very little sexual contact. The contact that she's had has never been because she wanted it, per se. It's always been because she craved it. The only difference, she was never on the same level as the people who she engaged in sex with. And this happens across a lot of different disciplines. So it's just not in education, it's in, you look at it, any profession, any job where the dynamic switches between an individual who's had success with the opposite gender and an individual who hasn't had quote unquote success with the opposite gender. They've always been in the position to be dictated to. So now she's in the position to dictate. She rolling through like she's number one chief rocker. She sees a young man that's vulnerable, impressionable. He might be from a single parent home. He stays after school to get some help with his math homework. It might be some algebra. He's, thanks, teacher. She says, hey, how you getting home? Oh, I'm going to catch the bus. Yeah, oh, no, don't worry about that. I'll give you a ride home. Drops off. The mother's, oh, I was going to pick you up. My teacher gave me a ride home. She looks, sees this Miss such and such. She said, I want to thank you for giving my son a ride home and for taking the time out of your schedule to tutor him. She says, oh, I don't think nothing of this, students are the future. All that good stuff. 3 months down the road, she's 5 weeks late. Little Larry's been laying some pipe, getting some things situated. And next thing you know, you got a situation on your hands. All because of the vulnerabilities of a woman who's never had that kind of power, and a young boy who's capable of being manipulated because he's never been taught about the ways of the world and women. Now, we always tend to think about sexual predators as being men, and understandably so. But what happens when we don't sit down and have these discussions with the impressionable boys? The impressionable boys who, just like that impressionable girl, who's overlooked in junior high school, who's overlooked in the early ages of high school, who aren't the jock, who's the quote unquote dweeb, the nerd. He's the Urkel of the school. You think he ain't gonna jump at something the first opportunity he get to get in some without knowing the full ramifications of what he's doing? This stuff is real, people. And the reason why we try and urge people to have these discussions with their kids, regardless of the gender, is so they don't become victims. They're much more difficult to manipulate. Because if your son came up, just imagine if your 16-year-old son came home one day and said, Mom, my teacher said I look really, really good today, and I always look good when I wear a certain thing. Why would she say that? How are you going to respond? What are you going to tell him? Are you going to tell him the truth? Are you going to want to have a sit down with this teacher, with the principal and the vice principal and some other administrators? Or are you going to go down there and confront the teacher and just blow the shit all out of proportion and make yourself feel uncomfortable in the meanwhile. Conversations that need to be had. I'm just saying. And people. Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You cooking right now because
And people, I'm here to tell you, when I graduated high school, I'm speaking specifically of me, I was 20. Now, I'm not going to say there was a whole lot of teachers running around at my particular high school that were worthy of me doing anything with.
you talk about Elise.
But do believe, but do believe there was one or two.
It was probably one or two. The other rest of
There
them
was
was
one or
old as
two.
hell.
Well, yeah, but there was one or two. There was one or two that, and I play football. There was one or two that the football team would have universally lined up, and it would have been Varsity Blues. For those of you who've never seen the movie Varsity Blues, at the end they found out the science teacher was doubling as a stripper. So I'm just here to say, this stuff happens. Now, we may turn a deaf eye to it. We may, no pun intended, pull the blinds closed while, Little Miss Teacher's getting the tune-up. Next thing you know, Little Miss Teacher got an addition, and she ain't getting rid of it. Why? Because that's unconditional love. Oh, by the way, little Johnny's on the hook for child support, and ain't nothing you can do about it.
Well, one of the things you said that came out of it, and I was trying to, and I write stuff, and I have different notebooks where I keep notes. And this was, I don't know if I was a part of another podcast or something, or we talked about it on our podcast. It was a study out of John Hopkins, and it talked about kind of like boys, the level that they get abused as young, maybe at a higher rate than girls. And we already know that boys don't report it, but there's a lot of, you know, older women probably in the family that does their things to little boys. And but boys, again, may not always report it, and people may not always follow up with them like they do with daughters. Anybody touch you? Anybody make you feel uncomfortable? Don't sit on nobody's lap, and things of that nature. To the point, some women may drive that point home with their daughters that really it can make things uncomfortable for their own biological dad. Uh, because of certain things that happen, and the dad may feel like shit, like, okay, that's my little baby. I want to give her love and all that. But if the mother's driving that point home because maybe it's something she went through and all that,
Yeah.
that could play a major role in the discomfort of the father, how touchy feely he may be. And it could be something innocent and he wants to embrace. So it's a fine line on how a lot of things happen, um, based on people's are motivated on a couple things like I'm trying to think of it, like hope. Like people might be motivated by hope because they suffered fear. People might be motivated, on acceptance is big to them because they're worried about rejection. And I'm missing the main one. Missing the main one. Hope. Um, Damn it. I hate when that happens. It's fear and hope. Uh, it'll come back to me. It'll come back to me. I got it written down somewhere, but
Yeah.
and this is the main one or whatever. That's why it's what people are motivated by. Uh, I get it. I when you start talking, I'll look it up. But anyway,
Yeah.
so that's that's one of the things like that John Hopkins study um, has spoken on that. And again, I've talked about this before that growing up, even with my friends, some of them, it was probably a lot of mothers probably could have been in jail back in the days
Oh yeah.
for some of the actions that they did. So, you know, one of my buddies, he couldn't wait till we get on the bus on Monday and tell me how I should have came over to their block because they were grinding and rubbing and filling on some of these grown women who had daughters on their butts and stuff. And I'd be like, what? And they're like, man, you need to come over. You know that such and such mother got this big old ass, and you just want to stay on your street. I told you to come over here, but I wasn't on that. Like the thought of me being 10, and at the time, I'm sure that mother was probably like 30, 32, or whatever, just didn't appeal to me. I just wasn't there. But they swore by it. This was going down. They was getting their grind on. Wasn't don't think anything like inserting any parts and all that. Just probably just grinding and touching and groping and all that stuff. But still, and I like nah. And they was like, "Why you won't come over here? Cause you scared. You scared of
Yeah, that's usually the
PUSSY.
fact.
You scared of
Yep.
PUSSY." And well, I guess I am there because I know that ain't right. I know that much, but so we know it happens. Just like you always talk about the weird uncle. Sometimes it's there with that weird aunt or that older drunk cousin or whatever. Got to be mindful and protective of any of your children, boys or girls, because you just uh, you just never know. And the one thing I always talk about too that you have to watch out. Anybody who keep emphasizing, if it's one of your friends and they keep speaking on your children's looks and they're projecting like, oh, he gonna be so fine when he get older, or it's a guy like, oh, she's such a cutie boy, she gonna be a heart stop. Gotta be mindful of that. They playing
That
with something. You just don't keep saying it. You don't keep saying it every day. If you say it once, that should be enough. And then after that, as a parent, like, all right now, all right the fuck now. Don't speak on her looks or talk about how handsome he gonna be, whatever. Something to it. There's something to it. And I don't give a damn who it is. It could be your best friend. If they keep saying it, don't be surprised when he get 21, 22, and he tell you, Ma, such and such. I slept with her because she was laying that foundation. She started looking at her. Who looks at a 7, 8 year old to think how he's going to look when he's 21? Unless you got a vivid imagination and you may be thinking, like, he get older, if he look like that, whoo, he can do with that. He can have his way with me. And it's sad. But I'm just saying.
yeah,
I, I
I'm
know y'all
laughing
probably don't want to hear
because
this.
I know it's true. Yeah.
I know y'all don't want to hear this.
This is, I mean, let's face it, when it comes to certain things in nature, boys are going to be at a disadvantage. Not strength wise, not necessarily intellect wise, but experience wise. And here's why. When a young girl starts to menstruate, if she has a responsible, intelligent female mother, she's going to tell her about this. All right. You're at a point in your life where this can happen if you do this. And if she's um, an inquisitive kid, she's going to ask, well, how does that happen? And that's when the floodgates open. So from and I've heard that some young girls are getting their menstrual cycles as early as 10 years old. So let's choose 11, somewhere between 10 and 12. She's getting gamed up. Responsible mothers are gonna say, "Look, this boy's gonna tell you this. He's gonna tell you that. He's gonna say this. He's gonna try this. He's gonna do this." She getting gamed up from day one. Boys, no such thing. Hell, the average boy is lucky if he's spoken to about what a wet dream. He ain't saying shit. Why? Because he's gonna wake up thinking he used the bed. He went to bed. Don't no 12-year-old boy want to go through that. Thinking about he wake up and the bed covered in what he thinks is liquid, and who the hell is if there's no man in the house, who's he going to speak to? His mother? His mother doesn't really quite know what that is, although she'll have a roundabout idea. But she gonna tell him it's okay. Mom, I'm wet in the bed. I'm 12. I know I didn't wet in the bed. How the hell is that normal?
Hmm.
So by the time he grows out of it, he's 13, 14. But he's still walking around in a stupor because he don't know what his body's capable of. Ain't nobody telling him, hey, look, you start hanging around these young girls, you gonna start to feel a certain kind of way, and you're gonna start doing some kind of things. And next thing you know, you're gonna find yourself in a world of trouble that you don't understand. So when they get to be high school juniors, high school seniors, yeah, he's fishing for something, but he doesn't quite know what it is he's fishing for. He understands why he's fishing for it, but he doesn't understand the larger ramifications on the level that the female does because that female's been gamed up. And eventually, if things come to pass and things go the wrong way, she's going to be with child, having to actually endure physically while he doesn't. This is why it's important for boys when they hit a certain age that they're actually sat down, talked to, and have a thorough understanding of the damage that they can do with their anatomy. I started at the top of the show off talking about the responsibility of men. The only problem is the men that want to teach that can't get access to the kids. Why? Well, I'm going to use this term literally and figuratively because the women are cock blocking. The women don't want to give up power, access, and control of that boy until it gets to be too damn late. What did the lock said in Quiet Storm? Now we're grown and old beyond the cops' control. That's what he was talking about. So if you want responsible boys, if you don't want these boys out here running through these young girls with impunity and without caring, you got to start while they're young, while they're more apt to listen, while they're more apt to take to heart what it is being conveyed to them. So even if the opportunity exists, they're going to say, you know what? Let me make sure I take every precaution to avoid a situation I don't want to be in. Because I remember I was older than the average student at my age because I dropped out and failed the 7th grade. I was in the 11th grade, a little freshman, mopping through, kind of cute. And I knew me at that time. I was sticking and moving. And I said, if I mess with this young chick, yeah, she's going to end up pregnant. I knew me. Beyond the shadow of a doubt. Now, I'm not going to say her name. This young female is from a Christian home. But them Christian panties would have been right on the floor. We'd have been moving some furniture. Little kid style, but nonetheless, we'd have been doing some things. And we ended up dating later in life. And I told her, I said, I had my eye on you when I was in my junior year. She said, well, why didn't you say anything? I said, because I knew me and I knew how persuasive I could be. And I said, I wasn't trying to derail your life at such a young age by getting you pregnant. And she was dumbfounded. She said, how do you know I'd have gotten pregnant? I know me. What about me? No, no. I know me. I know how I was getting it in, how I could get it in. And, and people are gonna laugh. They're gonna say, you weren't that type of dude at that age. It's not about me being that type of dude at that age. It's about me being that kind of guy at her age. Because we know, beyond the shadow of a doubt, if you give a freshman female the opportunity to be with an upperclassman, what's she gonna do? She's pretty much gonna do almost whatever he says. Why? Because she wants that notoriety. Like it, dislike it, think it's bullshit. I'm here to tell you, you rarely see freshmen dating freshmen. You rarely see freshmen dealing with sophomores, but you're more apt to see a freshman girl with a junior or a junior girl with a high school senior. That gets into the age gap dating, which we'll cover some other time. But trust me, you
and,
got to go ahead, Dave.
and it's funny that you say that because well, before I go to that, remember I was talking about the three things that motivate, and I looked it up, and it was pleasure and pain. So people either are
Yeah, okay.
motivated by pleasure
Yeah,
because they've dealt with painful experiences. So uh, I don't care where you line it up. Something that you do may fall under those areas like pleasure, hope, and acceptance. Um, it may fall under those things no matter what. If you leave a job because you're unhappy at one job, it may be that you don't feel pleasure or this other job was a painful experience. So that that kind of ties in. Now let me go back to the what's your point you were just saying about
oh the freshman junior, the
oh
freshman
yeah,
sophomore junior senior.
so I was last year, and I didn't have eighth grade. I had sixth grades, but I had a lot of the eighth graders that knew me, and I would tell them little stuff. I was like, listen, I said, when you get to high school, there's gonna be some boys that's gonna be juniors. They could even be seniors. They're gonna be trying to uh, get at you, and they're like, no, Mr. Glover, you doing too much. You saying too much, like ill, like that's just like petty, like a junior liking. I said, listen, when you're in high school and if you 14, they 16, they're gonna be lining up to see who the little cute freshman girls come out. I said, you if you're a cheerleader, they may be on the football team. I said they may be driving to school and they may say, hey, the new crop is coming in. She kind of cute. And it's like, no, no. And me and my man J Rock, we both tried to school these young ladies on that, but and I was like, it's kind of hard to really deliver that message because you don't want to be like, as older black male telling them, like, this is some of the things that's going to be happening. And, they go back and say, Ma, yeah, so I was in Mr. Glover's office. He was saying when we get to high school, it's going to be some juniors and seniors trying to talk to. And whether they, if they real, they could say, he ain't lying. Or they could say, I don't know why he was talking to y'all. What that had to, what conversation was y'all talking about? So that's why there's so much fluff, and you always got to worry about, can you have these conversations or can you not? And a lot of times you have to hold back. And I think the times you have to hold back probably is a lost teachable moment that if you gave it to them real, they would say, damn, yeah, he was trying to tell me that. I wish I would have listened or whatever the case is, but we was nevertheless we was trying to tell them, and they was like, no, it ain't. I was like, I'm telling you, I said, and you're not like you said, you're like you said, Herb, that you're not going to look at the ninth grader that y'all both got off the bus. Meanwhile, you got this 11th grader, 12th grader pulling up, and he driving. I don't know. I'm just gonna say, uh, a truck or some Explorer or something that he has a car and access to a car. The hell you think if he say, "Yo, can I see you at the school or whatever?" What you gonna do? Get on that damn bus, or you go jump in that car with that person who drives it, or in the morning he comes scoop you up. What you gonna do? But there we go. They got to learn it. So I kind of said what I said and kind of backed off of it, but the ability to have those courageous conversations and tell them so powerful. And the ones that's open to hear it, they'll come back
They
years
do.
after and say, you know what, you said it, you were right. Oh my God, thank you for always being there and being truthful and telling us how it's going to be.
Like BGS always says, man, females are driven by two things: attention and status. If you don't think, and this goes for college too, especially for college, if you don't think a freshman or sophomore dating somebody that's an upperclassman makes them high profile, think again. We we haven't mentioned this one yet, but Travis Hunter, Heisman Trophy winner, he's in a situation with his fiance. Now, granted, both of them are on the same tier in terms of their class status, but he doesn't realize that she is sitting in the driver's seat because she's controlling how he acts. When he received the Heisman Trophy, she was indifferent. She didn't care. This is your man. To that point in his life was the biggest night of his life, and she could have cared less. To give you guys an equal view, just imagine if you're an actor, you win a Grammy or an Oscar. I'm sorry, an Oscar. Grammys of music. You win an Oscar, and your wife is just sitting there like, okay, and you would have to question the relationship. You would have to question, is she really in your corner? This is why I say women are ahead of the game until men are gained up, until men come into a knowledge and an understanding of female behavior, why certain women behave in certain ways. This is not indicative of women behavior across the board. But there are a lot of women who are only in it with a man because of the status that she draws from him and the attention that she gets from being around him. Otherwise, most women would just be like, you know what? I'm out. I'm gone. I'm gonna find me the next patch of grass and I'm gonna live there. This is why, it's difficult for a lot of men, especially now that women are gaining economically. These men are they're essentially invisible. They're not viable dating options. People refer to them as incels. They say, "Oh, you can't get sex. The women don't like you. You out of shape. You balding. You overweight. Get your money up. Get your bag up. You can't talk to me. What is you?" We rarely hear that levied towards women, and that's why.
And one of the things I want to go back on when we were talking about the juniors or whatever talking to the freshmen, there's a reason for it. And again, y'all might not want to hear it, because many of them, well, you can't tell now. A lot of these kids are real sexually active at a young age, but some girls, they're virgins. So sometimes it's a, kind of forbidden thing that they're not going to speak on, but guys may be talking like, oh, you can't do that, or you ain't going to get her, or whatever the case is. And some guys will go the extra mile to try to get that young lady, but meanwhile, he he knows that it's pissing off the upperclassmen girls, but they're easy work. He already had them, so now he got the whip, and he's chasing after the young girl in her ear because obviously she's probably more gullible, but those same girls that's juniors or seniors, they've been through that before. So now he's going after the young girl, and he's catering to her. Meanwhile, the upperclassmen girls, they mad about it. They mad. They talking shit. Oh, why he talking? Oh, he, look at a little chest of the molest, calling them all types of names, but it really don't fit because he's 17, she's 14, 15, only 2 years difference. But he already know you're easy work. He already had you, so he know you're not going anywhere. He still can drop her off because her curfew is at 10 and your curfew is at 12, and then double back and hang out with you. It's it's simple. Y'all gonna ask, how do you know that? Did you do that, David? Absolutely not. I was a good I was a good guy. Well, I ain't had no car like that anyway to move. So we only could have been walking. Because I never got my license. My
Woo!
grandfather wanted to give me a car, but I just never ended up getting my license. But that's real, and that's how it goes because that's stature like a trophy. You're a guy, you're a junior, and you got this little cute little freshman on your arm, and she innocent, it's pure. She don't got no bodies, and you got her, and I guess the hunt is on. And unfortunately, I don't know, maybe we're telling too much, but because we know that some of you have freshman daughters and older upperclassmen sons and vice versa. That's how it is. This is how it is. Now he very well may really like her eventually. He very
Yeah,
well may
yeah.
like her because he feel like shit. I'm her protector. Ain't nobody else gonna talk to her. All that, but he probably has the upperclassmen on the side. Like, okay, I know she's sexually. I mean, her and did some things, so I can always. And she may be at the point that she's a junior or senior that she could kind of come and go. Parents like, okay, she does her thing. She gets good grades and all that stuff, so she's responsible. So he knows that okay, I can come by, get her, and we could chill for a while. And so it's a lot to it. People just don't think about it. It's a lot to it that you may say, oh, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about it, but it's real.
I'm here to tell you, I was in a very unique situation when I started hanging out on the college campus, and I've told this story before, told a portion of it before. At my age, I was 20. I was dealing with upperclassmen. I dealt with a couple upperclassmen. One was a senior, one was a junior. I didn't have any credits to my name. The only credit I had was I was willing and able to move some furniture. And moving some furniture I I'm here to tell you, those upperclassmen females are reaching back. Why? It's just like I said earlier, some of them are marginal in traction. They can't get with the ones, so they're gonna say, "Hey, I can fit in somewhere, or somebody can fit in somewhere." So they reaching back, and if that guy is reasonably attractive, He's charismatic. He got what some people refer to as game. He's going to do his thing. I'm here to tell you firsthand experience. I spent some time in some dormitories before I was actually fully matriculated, get matriculated. So it's out there. Women are doing it, just like David said earlier. Guys don't report on it because some of them haven't been gamed up or they think it's cool or whatever the situation is. Come on, boy. What you want to be on the camera? So it's out there. All we are telling you guys is don't turn a deaf ear to it or a blind eye. You have to speak to your sons and your daughters equally. So the decisions that they make, they're informed and they're not making them under duress. They're not making them because their peers are pushing them to make it. And they're saying, you know what? Even though I might want to experiment with this is the reason why I want to experiment. I want to find out how the other half lives. And you know what? It might be a one-time thing. They're going to say, you know what? I like it. That's not for me. It's the same thing a lot of people find out if they like smoking marijuana. They'll take a token and be like, oh, no, man, I can't deal with this. Or beer. They'll take a swig of beer and they say, oh, this is nasty. I don't want to try it again. And that's it. That's all it takes for them to walk away and say, no. And some don't. Some will push the envelope a little bit more. Some will do it because their friends are doing it. But this is how kids develop the older portion of their personality. So when they get into situations when they're older, they know what their boundaries are. And they can easily shut them down without fear of reprisal, without fear of being ostracized, picked on, alienated. They can say, you know what? I'm good. You know, if that's what y'all want to do, I'm going home. Catch me in the morning. And we wonder why we don't have enough of these kids that can say that, like David said earlier in his example. He said, y'all not riding dirty. Y'all don't have anything in the car. Because he developed at an early age a personality and the ability to say, yo, I don't want this. But we have to empower the kids to do that. We have to make them know that it's okay to say no. It's okay to be different, and it's okay to walk away from something that you don't feel comfortable with. Because let's look at it like this. You get a reasonably attractive female in that young boy's eyes. She ready to go. She like the Pillsbury dough can. Pop! Them buns ready to be put in the oven. He's there. Ain't nobody else there. She got a jar full of condoms. He say, okay. He start reaching for the condoms. She said, what you doing? I use a condom. My dad told me to use a condoms so I don't get nobody pregnant. She said, mm-mm. You want this? We got to do it how adults do it. No, he compromised because he got something he think he may not have another shot at. So what do we do? He said, okay, screw it. She got him. 5 weeks later, she pulled him and says, hey, look, we got to talk. Talk about what? I'm late. One time? Yeah. He's like, no, I ain't believing you. I think you're trying to set me up. Now, he doesn't know if she is, if she isn't, if she's lying, if she's somebody else. Because this thought process is probably not, hey, wait a minute. You got a bowl full of condoms. You didn't want to use one with me. How do I know you're not doing this with everybody else? And this is when she get to playing the mind games. Oh, you think I do this with everybody? It was just you. You don't trust me? And then that whole cycle goes on through the pregnancy. Meanwhile, he's messed up now because he doesn't know if the child is his. He doesn't know if she's been trying to manipulate him. And she's saying, I liked him because I really liked him. He wasn't like everybody else. He wasn't trying to talk me into it. He wasn't trying to get me into bed the first time he met me. And we don't make allowances for these kinds of situations. So when we don't make allowances for these kind of situations and they happen, we act like we've been blindsided. And it's nothing new, is new under the sun. There isn't. This is not a new situation. This is just a situation where we didn't cross all the I's and dot the T's. Yes, I said cross all the I's and dot the T's, meaning that we didn't take every conceivable chance to sit there and talk to this young boy about every particular situation that could occur. Because if we did, you know what he probably would have said? Nah, that's okay. I like you, but I don't like you that much. And he get up and leave. That's the power of being a man, is being able to walk away from something you want so badly because it doesn't align with your beliefs. And when you can teach a young boy to do that, he might as well be omnipotent when it comes to women.
Yeah, I mean that would be the best outcome if that could happen. But again, when we talk about maybe a lack of a male presence, somebody life, then it leans back towards being in competition with your friends
Mhm.
or not being the outcast. Remember, I was told I was afraid of it, and that was at a young age of 10. And then as I got older, uh, supposedly my friends act like they were tearing up stuff, doing this and that. But I never want, I wanted it to be with someone that I like. But at a certain point, peer pressure is a motherfucker
Mhm.
that you like, I just got to quiet the critics. Like, I got to let them know, like, I ain't gay, whatever. Just not as advanced as y'all. So my selective process is a little more intense. But eventually, when that conversation is, you can only talk, you can talk about sports so much, go hoop and all that. Then there's some downtime when you're going to talk about girls. And you ain't got no notch under your belt or you ain't got nothing lined up on a Friday night. And they supposedly do. Eventually, you're going to have to make a decision. Say, this is not what I wanted, but just because I want to kind of cool them down, buy some time, and you end up, dealing with people that you're not attracted to. They don't turn you on at all, but you end up doing it just because, I guess, the power of influence from your friends. And that happens a lot too. So it kind of depends. That's why you always like kind of want to choose like-minded people. Not saying that my boys we were like-minded when it came to sports and all that stuff, but I think they were a little overzealous when it came to females. And they would, hey, they would take chances or feel like, hey, just another notch under my belt, and I wasn't. at that level. But things change as we got things had changed, but because once you start when you go to college and all stuff, you're around a different mindset of females. Not in all cases, because sometimes people still have the same mindset and they just come to college with that mindset.
Mhm.
But you have more of a selection and you have more of a choice, so things change. But hey, during my junior high, middle school years, and early high school years, it was a struggle. It was a struggle with my peers because I had to prove to them like that I'm not afraid of it. I just wasn't ready for it at the time. Greg said every young person should have a hardcore rule against unprotected sex with someone they are not in a long term relationship with. Yeah.
Man,
In a
that's
perfect
a
world, that may be the
yeah,
case, but in some cultures, it's about your peers drive a lot of your decisions. And you could be from a good family and got it all, but your peers become more valuable than your parents, your grandparents, people who've done everything for you because you want to look good in your peers' eyes.
yeah. I mean, it's like David said, in a perfect world, that would be ideal. The problem that you run into is, and it's not even so much about the upbringing, is it becomes about an experience. And I know for me personally, when I was in my from the age of like 21 to 27, if I wasn't in a committed relationship, oh, absolutely. There was no way that I was going, that I wasn't putting furniture cover on things. It just wasn't happening. Now, the problems that I ran into was when I was in committed relationships that I would get the I'm late or I'm on birth control. So we weren't using, well, at least I wasn't anyway, in that particular manner. So you get a lot of these situations that crop up on guys because they, like I said, they haven't been gamed up. They haven't been told that, hey, look, just because a woman tells you she's on birth control doesn't mean she's on birth control. Because we were brought up in the era to trust women. You know, women aren't going to lie about those kind of things. All of a sudden, now we find out that, shoot, they lie more than the men are. And some of them, they don't care if they have a child because some of them are looking to have a child. They may not want to necessarily have the child by the man they're having sex with. But for some of them to say, you know, I don't care. I got a child. Big deal. I'm going to get help taking care of him. Or I'm going to get help taking care of her. And I'm going to make his life a living hell because he didn't want to stay there with me. I mean, a lot of this stuff is, you know, we think it's new. I ain't playing. I ain't planting no seeds anywhere. I ain't planting no seeds anywhere, so I don't even worry about it. But to that, yes, people would be surprised. I remember I was 16, I think I was at the time. Uh, girl was 13. Now I wasn't messing with her, but somebody else was. And she said she was pregnant. I was like, at the risk of sounding stupid. I said, for what? I said, you only had sex one time. She said, one time was all it took. I was like, what can I say? Because she wasn't wrong.
Mhm.
But these are the things that don't we don't ram home. Part of the use of the term ram, but we don't drive it in there. We don't make sure it sticks. We don't make sure that when the opportunity arises, that both parties say, hey, you know what? We may want to move some furniture, but we don't want to build a house. And if we don't want to build a house, then both of us need to take steps so that when we lead this joint venture, there's nothing left for us to discuss. And that's not taught enough. See, we either swing to one extreme or the other extreme. We either say abstinence or protection. What happens when people don't want to use protection for whatever reason? See, allergic to latex, or it just feels better. We don't teach young women about um the period of time where they're infertile. In other words, even if they have sex and there's a semen release, she can't get pregnant because as long as her cycle's functioning on the correct scale, there's no there's no ovum present to be fertilized. The same thing with boys, and it's even worse for boys. Most boys know absolutely nothing about a female's reproductive cycle and how it works. Case in point, and I'm gonna put this out there. You can ask any man that you want to. I guarantee you $1 to $100 that most of the men will get it wrong. Ask a man if a woman has only one ovary, how many chances, and she's otherwise healthy, how many opportunities exist in a year for her to get pregnant? And I guarantee you that he won't answer that question the right way. And I'm talking adult men. Why? Because it's never been incumbent upon us to know. Some of them don't care. Some will say, well, why do I need to know that? And these are the ones who actually get caught up in the paternity suits. These are the ones who can't sit down and say, well, wait a minute. How you figure that? Because I kid you not, I had a female tell me a week after we had sex that she was pregnant. The fuck I look like you? What? And you telling me it's mine? Oh yeah. I might have been born today, but it wasn't yesterday. You run that game on somebody else. And that's a true story. I kid you not. We were working at the same place. That's how we met. We took a liking to each other. We're about the same age. And that's what she told me the next week. We got to talk. About what? I'm late. Late for what? Remember what we did last week? Yeah, I remember. Oh, hell no. I ain't the daddy. I am not. No. Go pull that shit with somebody else. Go pull that shit with somebody. Go pull that shit with somebody else. But if I didn't know, I didn't know. And that's because people clown me when I tell them I had a subscription to Cosmopolitan magazine. I had a subscription to Cosmo for I think like 2 years. And a lot of guys say, why the hell would you have a subscription to Cosmo? Because it helped me get into the inner workings of the female mind. Nothing more, nothing less. You can't know your adversary unless you know what your adversary is studying. Call it what you want. Speak about it how you want. I've never been afraid of putting that out there, but yeah, I had a subscription to Cosmo until that stuff got to be repetitive, sliced up a different way. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. This danger. I'm the big bad wolf. I'll leave the pack in danger. I'm a black man born in America. I was bred to be dangerous. Queen Duck ain't the only one that with the moniker. Let's get dangerous. I thrive on it. I thrive
on it. Yeah. Again, it's a lot to all of this. And it's probably something you don't think about on a daily basis. And you get on here, we just talk. But The opportunity is there for people to tune in, to listen. But part of the problem is we get so programmed into listening to the same conversations all the time from the same people. So shit, it's like the blind leading the blind. Uh, if you don't open your mind to different mindsets or different perspectives, you're gonna keep getting the same results or keep getting the same information. So put it out there. And we talk about this often. Oftentimes people attention span just isn't geared to listen to, so you have to give it to them in bits and pieces. That's why sometimes I love the being able to clip a certain, a 1 minute snapshot of certain things, so that can bring people to say, "Hey, I'm gonna listen to a little more." They just hit on something that I'm going through, so that that would bring them, draw them in. They might subscribe, it may tune in. So it's important because, like I said, a lot of people attention spans. Even myself, I'll be like, okay, I'll listen to something and then I might click off of it. But things that really have my attention, I'll see it through. Greg said we are talking about a young person making mistakes, and that could be forgiven. But what should we be thinking about a man with five or more baby mamas or a woman with five or more baby daddies? Isn't there a point where all of us should be saying enough is enough? Yeah, it should be. I guess when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you should
Yeah.
say enough. If you're a guy that keep going through this and child support and all that stuff, and if you plan to spend the rest of your life without nothing because you're paying everything, that should be enough. But some people do it because of a control issue. They
Mhm.
really may feel, okay, I'm the fourth baby daddy. She got three other ones, but I got the youngest one in there. So I got I got the juice right now. Uh, which is a horrible way to think. And I remember one of my buddies told me, he said he was dealing with some young lady. He said she had like two or three kids, and he said he went over there. It was like a freaking revolving door on a Friday. They were all coming to pick up their kids. And he was sitting there, and then he said he ended up going out to his car at one point and just left. He said he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. Like, yeah, that for father to be lined up coming to get their kids, and you're sitting there and you're the guy. You don't got no kids by her, but uh, you just waiting for, okay, which they come get their kids so me and her can do what we got to do. But just going through that grueling process of everybody to come pick up their kids. Hmm. Guess when is enough enough? I guess he had enough. Went out to his car and never came back.
I'm going to put a book title in the chat. Um, it partially answers Greg's question, but I think it's necessary for people who want to get a deeper understanding into certain things to read it.
Oh, Greg said you were talking about peer pressure resulting in taking the risk. Shouldn't we be creating peer pressure on the adults not to be stupid? Uh, yeah, but again, if you were on here earlier, a lot of times people don't put pressure on adults. They rather sweep it under a rug, and that's why I say sometimes you have to question true friendships, because real friends tell people they may say stuff that like, oh, I know this not going they not gonna like this. They may be mad for 2 or 3 days, but that's okay. I gave my stance, I gave my point of view. I told them what I feel. If they don't like it, too bad. But a lot of times, and that's why said I question sometimes female relationship friendships more than men, because men, we'll say what we got to say. Uh, you might always have that guy that would want to buck up and get mad and want to fight everybody, but you kind of look at him like, man, sit down somewhere. But women tend to hold on to toxic friendships longer. Guys, if it ain't going their way and you feel like that person ain't for you, it's easy to cut them off. Now, and you'll hear a lot of guys, I don't fuck with him no more. And I don't deal
Yeah.
with him. But women, they will hold on to it because they were friends since kindergarten.
Also, regarding peer pressure, I think what people need to understand about peer pressure, especially in adults, is peer pressure doesn't always come from outside. Peer pressure can also come within. And how that manifests itself is this. Let's say I have 4 friends. There's 4 of my boys. We 5 in a group. 4 of my boys have at least a master's. 2 got PhDs. 3 are married with kids. They making $500,000. And there I come with my bachelor's, and I'm bringing up the rear. But they never mention it. They never talk about it. Every time we go out, they pick up the tab. I can't match them. So the peer pressure isn't from them. It's from me wanting to measure up to what they are. Now, for whatever reason, I failed to launch, or I failed to rise to where they are. As men, we generally don't make a fuss about that. It's, you crew. We got you regardless. We boys. But I'm saying to myself, yeah, I know that. But I want to be on a level with you guys. I want to have at least a master's. I want to be pulling in $250K. I want to be able to go out, drop my Visa Black on the bill and say, I got it, fellas. So we have to be careful how we look at peer pressure, because peer pressure is not people always putting on us. Sometimes we ingest and say, hey, look, I want to do this. I want to be this. And this is how a lot of young boys get caught up and got caught up in the drug game. Not so much now, but they say, hey, look, I want to be the one coming through pushing the Lex. I want to be the one coming through dripped in jewelry, rings, Rolex. That's how a lot of that stuff gets started. I mean, especially in the inner city, because with the exception of rap music, most black men ain't telling brothers to get in the game. If anything, we tell them the opposite. You don't want to get caught out there like that, man. Linda, looking at 10 to 15, we telling people get out the game, go to school, be that nerd, get your education, stay away from the fast life, stop drinking so much, stop smoking weed. That's what you hear coming from men like myself and David. The only problem is it's not protected on the world's banner. It's pushed in the corner. Why? Because that doesn't suit the status quo for people to make money off of. Think about this. Nobody profits off the studious black man. Why? Because his foundation is solid. You can't tell me to go out and party every Friday and Saturday night. You can't tell me to go smoke up my money. You can't tell me to go buy a Lex that I can't afford. Because I know me. I have an integral understanding of me that nobody else can shake. Whatever they do, it's like Fort Knox. You can't get aside. But if you get a compromised man, what can he do? He can't fight it. He doesn't have the wherewithal. He doesn't even know himself enough to fight. He doesn't even know himself enough that he's supposed to resist all of that. And this is what we have in inner city, urban black America, because we have a lot of these kids, especially black males, who are running around compromised, and they don't know Why? This is why the addicts exist. If it's easier to build strong men than it is to it's easier to build strong boys than it is to repair broken men. We're behind the 8 ball. We're trying to fix broken men as opposed to grow them up strong. This is why years ago on the panel where we had the women, I would consistently say, if y'all want better men, give those boys to their fathers. They will fight tooth and nail to say, no, we're not going to do that. They don't want them. This, and that. And now we're seeing that the evidence is coming out saying that the overwhelming majority of single father homes produce the same results as a 2-parent home. Sorry, I didn't mean to get on soapbox there.
No, it's all good. Greg said, "Do black men congratulate other black men that have many children with many different women?" Absolutely not. Not ones that's trying to be progressively thinking and moving forward, because we look at it and say, "Damn, another one? Damn, child support, daycare expenses, Pampers on." Like, yo, dude, like, what are you trying to do?
Yeah.
So you trying to put those conversations, or you trying to tell them, man, you might be ready to go get that shit snipped or something, whatever, and let it go, whatever. But the Sawyer Royal Oaks, and you like 50, and you got 1-year-old. Oh, that ain't what you trying to do, whatever. You supposed to be done with all that. You're supposed to be getting ready for your glory years in your 50s. Be like, and all I do is travel and just relax and do everything I wanted to do. All that stuff is behind me. So, but there are some guys be like, "Oh, you got another one? What's his name? You gonna name him after me?" You gonna have those type of people. But again, we talked about flattery. Those people who agree to all your actions, they really probably your enemy. Your friend gonna tell you, like, "Yo, you need to do something about that. You need to fix that. Don't come to me always crying that you ain't got nothing, or this what she did, or what she did that," because you kind of controlled that. You could have did something to change those fortunes.
Yep.
He said, "Our man like that really paying child support."
Not enough, and it's not to answer that particular question in a different way. It's not the child support, because if you look at men, matter of fact, let's look at it like this. You take men like Nick Cannon, Future, and a couple other ones. There's a lot of professional athletes. It's not the money spent. It's the time and the bonds. And this is something we'll get into coming up soon, Greg, that black boys are not necessarily afforded the benefit of, comparatively speaking, to other males in America. If I have 2 kids, and they're by 2 different women, they're roughly a year apart, but I get those boys every weekend. I take those boys hunting. I take them fishing. I teach them everything that they know, that they need to know, pardon me, to grow up to be fully functional, upstanding men. More often than not, those young boys are going to excel. Now, conversely, if I'm a well-to-do man, I have 2 kids by 2 different women, same scenario, same setup, except I don't spend any time with them. I send them every time their mother asks for money. I send them money. I don't go to any of their ball games. I don't go to any of their sporting events. I'm not there to talk about the grades, about education. I don't teach them anything about manhood. What do you think those boys are going to turn into? Nothing that you are going to want a daughter or a female friend or relative of yours to be associated with. So when we get caught up in the money aspect, it diverts our attention to what's needed, because when we grew up, we didn't have fathers that was dropping hundreds a month on child support. But what we did have was a village of older men who cared, who took us aside and said, hey, look, this is what you need to be doing. This is what you should aspire to be. This is how you should behave. And to a man, those men, and I talk about Garth, Mike, and Steve at the 13th Street Center, I talk about those men and what they meant to me. And I say, if it hadn't been for those men, the Herbert that you see here does not exist. And those men never contribute one dime towards my rearing. I don't know the numbers on that. The question for people that are wondering, he asked, what percentage of children have a father that participates like you described versus those that do not? That's a tricky question, because the mother is always the gatekeeper, especially if she was awarded sole custody or visitation is set up so that he only gets to see that child so much. And this is why the Black Manosphere has I think it's a 13-point presentation. I got to get that so I can actually come on here and read it to people so we can discuss it a lot, because it's been in play for some years. And this is one of the things that President Trump is trying to get introduced in the Congress for legislation. Because as long as women are able to throw up roadblocks that prevent men from sharing equal time, because one of the things that they're saying is anytime there's non-marriage, that custody should be 50-50. Right off the muscle. There's no, he has to fight for this, she has to fight for that. It's 50-50 joint custody, and whoever is going to pay support, pay support. That eliminates that. That gives both parents equal opportunity to be a full participant in the life of that child. Because as long as it remains as it is, you're going to see them balance. And the one thing that women don't want to give up, particularly when it comes to kids, is power. As long as they have the kids, they have the power.
Yeah, they don't want to give them dollars either,
Yeah,
because I don't think many guys will say, "Hey, my kids can come stay with me." Uh, but the understanding is that I don't want to, they don't want nothing. They don't even want the woman's money. I'm not going to take her for child support. In fact, shit, I ain't got to talk to her like that. I'll make sure the kids call or whatever the case is. But when you do that, that means some women, that means they're giving up control. They have nothing over that person to say, well, he gonna call one way or the other, or he gonna come by here. But if the kids are with him and they're fine, and he's giving them a good quality of life, uh, he may be like, there's so many variables to this, because it could be that same guy that have his children, but he don't bring women around like that. And that's a understanding of his. He like, you're not coming over here. My kids are here. Uh, where I seen a post the, and it was kind of, I was like, okay, that don't make sense. But it was saying, can women really pay household bills by themselves without a man? And there are some women, yeah, many. I'm gonna say many. I don't know the percentage, but there are some who don't need a man. They could do all of that. But then there's some who need a man, and that's when they bring other people around them children, and sometimes them children will tell their dad, yeah, mom got a new boyfriend and he this and that, and I heard them arguing about us coming over your house and all that. So it's a lot of A lot of things. How I know? Because my students come back and tell me these things. And so I have to have my antenna on and I listen to it and I just like some of the things I like, I just wasn't prepared for this on a Friday. I just didn't want my day to go like this. But they're like, oh, I got something to tell you. I got some tea. I got some tea for you. Like, and that's what it is. Again, not all dads, but dads who are capable and responsible say, hey, my kids can come here. They can stay. I got room for them. I ain't got to talk to the mother. I ain't going to ask her for shit or whatever. Uh, but sometimes women don't want to relinquish that control because they might say,
Mhm.
damn, that's 1,000 or 1,200 that was coming in my household that I done lost out. Shit, I can't get my nails done now. I can't get my hair done. I can't buy these outfits or whatever to go on these little trips, my little weekend trips with my girls because that money is no longer there.
Yep.
And and again, in not all cases, I'm just saying for the up and up guy that say, hey, I got room, my kids can come stay here with me. If it's a hardship for you, it's all right. We ain't asking you for nothing. I'm not asking you to send no child support. I will make sure that they call you. You can get them every other weekend or whatever the case. It's no problem. We all right over here. But some of them don't like that because they wonder, okay, who cooking for y'all? Do we have any women coming over there? They're asking all these questions. What did y'all
Yeah.
eat and all of that stuff. But meanwhile, you don't even ask those type of questions. But it probably could be a worse predicament. And I know we get
Yeah,
ready
it's
to.
real out here, man. It's real. And I've said it once, and I'll say it again. My saving grace, I don't have any children. That's my saving grace. You know, um, for whatever it is, um, I I'm not necessarily in the position to really talk about what others go through because I haven't endured. The only thing I can do is do research and get the stories from the men who have or who currently are in that situation, and I have to present to you what they say. Now, some of it may be unflattering, some of it might be hyperbolic. I don't know, but I do know this: that men, and I said this at the top of the show, that we have to reassert control, and the way we reassert control is we bypass the women. But that's going to require a concerted effort on the behalf of men who want to do this and say, look, we are no longer giving y'all control because we are not going to get you pregnant. Easier said than done? Absolutely. But this is why it becomes vitally important for the men to get their hands, figuratively speaking, on the boys so they can plant these seeds here. So by the time they start to get onto the road, even if they become professional athletes, they can say, you know what? Uh-uh. I ain't doing that. And for people who say it can't be done, look at what Steph Curry's doing. No kids out of wedlock. Man's a multi-millionaire. He's not the only one. Conversely, we see what Ant Williams, I think, is Ant-Man
And
has done.
Edwards.
Yeah, got a female pregnant. He doesn't care what happens to the child. You see a dichotomy between the two. And what you see is one person came up one way. Same thing with Kobe Bryant, even though he had his affair. Raised with a mother and father, the one isn't. The evidence is indisputable. It's unshakable. It's unshakable. So when we talk about these things, we don't talk about them in a closet. We talk about them as they are. So people can't say, "Oh, y'all living in a pipe dream," because once upon a time, Black America was like this. It's not until we, it's not until we get into the 1970s that the single parent motherhood rate explodes. Now you can look into all the legislation, all the social things that occurred between the 1970s and the 1980s, and in there you'll find the reasoning why it's all occurred, why it's all like this. It can be undone. It just isn't going to happen overnight, and not everybody's going to abide by it, because what do people not want to be told to do? Or what do people not want? They don't want to be told what to do. And some people feel like, well, you can't tell me what to do with my body. If I want to go have sex, it's my right to go have sex. So what do you do? What do you do with a mindset like that? Leave it alone. You leave that mindset alone. You ostracize it, and whatever comes from that individual or from those individuals, you say, you know what? Y'all own your own. Is it going to be cruel? You bet. Will it be harsh? You bet. Are kids going to suffer? You better damn well believe it. Because as we were told when we were kids, a hard head make a soft ass. And sometimes the only lesson people understand is a harsh one. It's not even about slut shaming. It's about getting people on one accord. Because we can deal as a society and as a people, we can deal with 10% of our kids being born like that. Every child, let me get this right. Every child born is not going to be the product of a functional marriage. We understand that. We understand that we are people and that we don't always get along. For as much as I don't like her, and I'm not going to say her name, she has a point where she says the only time that males and females get along is when we have sex.
Who said that? Who said that? Who said
what
that?
You talking about, Willis? But I mean, so we have to accept the human flaws in this. So we don't have to shame them. We just don't have to invite them into the building. We say, hey, look, what you did of your own accord. We respect that. However, we don't have to take care of the things that you've done. If you want us to take care of the things you've done, these are the stipulations that you have to meet. And you make them sign it. You make them own it. And when they violate, you send them on their way. Like I said earlier, if I can help you, I'm going to help you. I'm not going to necessarily hurt you. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm here to help. But we're not here to be abused. And this is the example you give, Greg. Some people are abusing the system because they know the system is going to do what the system has always done. So the only way you can change the behavior, shout out to BGS, is you got to change the system. And when you change the system, you say, okay, you know what? No more government assistance for people who have multiple children out of wedlock. What do you think is going to happen then? You think people are going to start to straighten up and fly right? You can drop some coin on that. Or the abortion rate is going to increase. or the means of birth control will increase. People aren't stupid. People are very well aware of what they can do to stop the proliferation of children to unmarried couples.
Hey, Greg said they did that years ago, ended increases in child welfare payments at three
Oh,
kids.
I don't know.
Women that stopped magically at three kids since they would not getting any more money. Or is that like dealing with the welfare and the earned income credit and all that stuff? That they only could claim a couple kids, and that's when they let other people claim 'em. Like it's so many rules and different things that happen as far as that. It's just crazy. I can't keep up with it.
Yeah, I'll certainly look into that though, because I wonder. Because even though um, welfare is a federal program in terms of the funding, it's ran by each state. Yes, that's true. He said the payment to women increased with each child endlessly before that. So I'll have to definitely look into it because I don't know what the guidelines are anymore. I have no idea. Yeah, yep, that wouldn't surprise me. Would not surprise me at all because it destroys the budget. It destroys the budget. What do you want, Bruce?
A lot of a lot of things come out of these conversations. A lot of things to think about. Yeah, many people may not be watching it right now live, but when you throw certain clips and they see it, they'll say, "Damn, what did I miss?" Miss a lot of these conversations, but again, I always contributed to the short attention span that everybody has their phones and they're willing to watch a 1 minute clip or a minute and a half, 2 minute clip uh, instead of getting the full context of a conversation. But looking at the time, it's about 11:30. We're gonna
Yes,
get
sir.
ready to get up out of here. The grind never stops.
No, it does not.
We appreciate you coming through, Greg. I wish I'd have had more opportunity. I didn't really do my normal promo for a show. It's just like I'm still trying to get back in sync with stuff. Uh, it's like I said, if you missed it at the beginning of the show, you know, I went through a brand new school building. We was displaced at the school because flooding issues. So they had to kind of revamp and redo our offices and walls and different things. So, in fact, we just went back in there. I think it was last Monday or Tuesday. So I'm back in my office. So I'm not displaced at the job anymore. And then I think, shit, that might have happened on that Monday when I came into work. Then I think that Saturday, my vehicle got stolen. So for these last months, March can't end soon enough. This March, and what's tomorrow? Is tomorrow April 1st? Yeah, or is tomorrow the 31st? No, tomorrow is April 1st, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. You know the pranksters is gonna be out.
The what? The pranksters.
You know the
Yeah.
pranksters is gonna be out.
So it's been a lot for March. So I welcome April, and hopefully everything gets back on track because man, being displaced and being violated, all of that is just it's a lot. But the one thing I did miss coming on here having these conversations, but At the time, I was just too busy going back and forth. And the thing is, still not out of the water yet. Still got more work to do because it's relied on other people to do what they got to do, and that's something I can't control. The only thing we can control is what we do and how we behave and how we respond to certain things. If we can control that and we can get under our system that no matter what you say, I'm gonna respond in a positive way, then hey, it'll change things. It'll change things in relationships, relationships at work, home life, uh, church, whatever group you belong to. You just have to remember you only can control what you can control, and the way you respond. It's not about being angry or upset. It's how people respond or how you handle those emotions. And I think that's where everybody we get it twisted because people think they can fly off the deep end over this or that, and then they expect different results. It's about how you respond to it. And like I said, I'm frustrated right now. What can I really do? I'm not really gonna go postal or anything like that, but just got to deal with what's dealt with. The hand that's dealt with me, and keep pushing forward, and know that all of us, everything's gonna come together. Shit, I just don't know how long it's gonna take. Like this process has been too long, but I'm here, and looking for brighter days, and just want to keep pushing forward. And again, for the folks, one of the reasons why my car, and I ain't gonna say that's the reason. It was just some old um, hoodlums or whatever decided that they wanted to take a car, joyride, drink. What's that? What's that? Freaking drink. Lose or something, some type of, I guess, vodka, tequila, and smoke blunts and stuff, and ride around uh, and party in a vehicle. Um, but on the brighter side, everybody should rally behind the Buffalo Extreme and the Final Four because it's clearly, I don't know when the last time the Sabres was relevant, and the Bills been knocking on the door. But damn, we could get a semi-professional team in Buffalo that they about to play in the Final Four. They could bring a champion to Buffalo, which is definitely needed. So we'll see how that play out. So shout out to the Buffalo Extreme, Karan and all y'all. Go ahead, handle y'all business. I wish I could be there because I'm y'all number one heckler. Boy, when I go to them games, I piss people off to no end. I mean, I piss the opposition off, but I think the Extreme fans, they love when I show up. They love when I show up because the passion is there because I'm a sports guy. Yeah, when I get behind something, I want them to win. So I'm gonna go at it all game long with people. But I wish them well. I know they gonna bring it home. I just feel it. Yeah, handle your business. I wish I could be there. But don't count me out. You never know if I'll pull up or not. I'll find a way. But Herb, any closing comments with everything that was said tonight? And there was a lot said to move forward on these conversations. Tell that freaking cat to go to freaking bed.
Yeah, he
Uh,
won't listen, man. No, man. Um, we are to Greg's delight, I'm sure. We're gonna do a couple things, regarding black culture and the black community. So if that's your thing, stay tuned. It's gonna be a hot one. That's it. That's because I see a lot of people are gravitating you know towards this particular thing, and I think it's time to really pull back the sheet. Let's see how this stuff is made, and it really it kind of ties in with this. So stay tuned. This is going. You might need some thermal underwear because it's going to get this for some people it's going to get kind of cold, and for others it's going to get kind of hot.
And that's the only way you're gonna grow. When you get push off your circle, your block, feel uncomfortable because we know that's the only way change is gonna occur. When you feel uncomfortable. So we always said it's time to because right now I feel hella uncomfortable. Uh, will this make me grow? It may. It may make me make some decisions that I probably would have put off, but you know that's the thing about feeling uncomfortable. It's not always the bad thing because some people like to just be complacent and don't want any growth. Uh, and the only way you're gonna grow is if you step outside the box and do something different, or you may sometimes you're forced to do something different. Uh, me, you'd probably rather do it on your own terms, but sometimes it don't work that way, and you have to be pushed or forced to do something. So here it is. That's what we're gonna do. And again, we've been away, but we're gonna come back harder, and sooner or later, y'all gonna understand. And again, Auntie says she'll be back. She just in recuperation mode. Been through a lot, going through that post trauma, but she's gonna pop back up and she's gonna say what she gotta say because you know she probably would have ate this conversation up, but she just didn't feel like talking tonight and coming back live. So I'm glad Auntie is back. She's all right. She's in recovery mode and she's gonna have a lot to say. Greg said we'll do and I will be around to ask some tough questions. And that's all right. And I'm sure that expands your knowledge base as well. And her putting in them order for the wings and shit. But putting in that order for the wigs. But he gonna tell us at the beginning of the show that he weighed 343 pounds. You put that order in. Put that some. Till he can't button up that work shirt and them pants. Then that's where change will occur. All right. It looks like Detroit Tigers are going to suck this year. It's too early in baseball. Just never know. I'm gonna wait for her. He put in 50 wings. 50 wings and an extra large pizza. And you know I'm gonna clip this shit too. It's a mess. uh, we'll do it. I will be around there.
You can't stop a fat man.
You know this shit get clipped. You order 50
I ain't ate
wings and
all day,
extra
man.
large. uh, all right,
I ain't
Greg,
ate
be
all
safe.
day, man.
Have a good one.
Matter of fact, this banana was the first thing that I had to eat all day, man.
Why you ain't eat all day?
Because I'm trying to get back on my daytime fast diet.
Okay.
So I'm not eating during the sun up hours, sun up days.
So what you order?
That's how I dropped to 35 pounds. That's how I got down to 255.
What you order?
Now the weather
Salad?
breaking, I ain't got no excuse not to go out biking and rollerblading, shooting baskets. I'm gonna get back there. I got no choice. Don't no woman want to fat me.
Did you order a salad?
Yeah, small one. I just got some chicken fettuccine alfredo with some broccoli.
Okay.
There's some vegetables in there. Come on, man.
Where you get that from?
Sammy's.
Oh, okay. All right. Enjoy. So Gonna get out of here. Hey. I can't even say nothing. I'm just trying to go through the motions and get through everything myself. Even the work days is hard to try to get back on track because when you've been violated, you've been violated. So you go through the emotions, but I'll be all right. I'm gonna bounce back. To bounce back 25, it's gonna be. Might not see it now, but you'll be like, damn. I remember David was talking about that. Like, damn, he came back hard. Because sometimes you got to be angry to make moves. Right now, I'm like, not to the point that it's going to dictate everything, but it's just like, got a chip on my shoulder right now. But I'm out. On to the next one. Any words you got to say, Herb?
Nope. I
Right.
think he's had enough for the night. Although he's gonna keep me up for most of the night.
All
But
right, we
we
out.
will see y'all next weekend.
Stay
More
tuned
to
for the
come.
yeah. Stay tuned for the clips. Stay tuned for the upcoming conversations, and we're in an interesting
We might
time with our culture.
rename the show David and the Fat Man.
All right, y'all. We out. On to the next one. See y'all
Yeah,
next
take care
time.
now.
All right. Peace.